All right, guys, so we're covering the colonization of land by plants and fungus, continuing from where we left off with fungus. This lecture is all about plants and fungus. We're going to talk about plants for the rest of this session. In this particular lecture, we're going to talk about land plants being descended from green algae, figure out the characteristics of land plants, describe vascular and non-vascular plants, and explain the role of the meristem, apparently. Here's the deal. Plants have 4 properties. They all have the same 4 properties in common. They all contain plastids. They all are multicellular. There are no unicellular plants. They have tissues, and they have a specialized reproductive system. So you guys know me and my lists and how they like to pop up on exams. First off, plants have plastids. You guys know a very famous plastid. What is the plastid that you know about in plants? The chloroplast. What color is a chloroplast? Green, that's right. So all of the organisms that we know of as plants have plastids in them. The most famous of which is the chloroplast. All plants are multicellular. They have multiple cells clinging onto each other using those super awesome cellular adhesion genes and cellular communication genes. So all true plants are multicellular. They have plastids like the organelle. The chloroplast. And what those plastids do is they're going to convert inorganic materials to organic materials. And they can do that a few ways, but primarily using what source? Not trying to trick you. The sun. Yes, the sun. They use the sun in order to convert radiant energy into the energy of bonds. Here's an image of the chloroplast. The chloroplast is double membrane bound, as you recall. What may be the reason it was double membrane bound? What theory do we harken back to for that? Endosymbiosis. A small green algae was taken in by a larger cell, and it began to produce sugar for the larger cell. Sort of like extortion, I guess. It's like, I'll provide you food if you give me protection. They're multicellular. Again, I wonder if I have slides on here that should be deleted. So is this a plant? This is an image down at the very bottom of the screen. What do you think? Plant or no plant? So is it a plant? No, because it's a fungi. Well, it's a fungus, I guess. All right, how about these guys swimming around all individually and stuff? Are they plants? No, why? They're unicellular. All plants are multicellular. How about that? This thing down here. It's a tree. Is it a plant? Yes, good. Okay, we're winning this game. How about that green thing over there? It's green. Plant? No, why? It's an algae that's unicellular. Hey, this is tricky. It's not kale. It's definitely not kale. It grows on trees. It's a lichen. Is a lichen a plant? No, because it's a combination of a fungus and an algae. Oh, how about this over here? It's moss. It's a fungus, right? It's not. It's a plant. It totally is a plant. We'll learn about them today. It's called a bryophyte. It wasn't a trick question. It's all about plants. Oh, I'm not talking about this stuff around them. Algae. Okay, well, these are unicellular things holding on to each other using glycocalyx. Nope, because they're unicellular. What about these? Unicellular, not a plant. Oh, that's hard. That's a seaweed, and seaweeds are kind of weird, and they fall into their special category, so I don't want to talk about them. Okay, how about that? Cactus, and the cactus is in fact a plant. You guys win. Is it a plant or not? Fun story. My students, the 101 students asked me for prizes yesterday. That was their big thing. They're like, you should give us prizes for getting things right. It's like, do you really want prizes? And they're like, I said, yeah, we want you to get, and I was like, you understand prizes come out of my pocket, right? And they're like, yeah, but we did well. And I was like, all right, fine. So I found, I rummaged through drawers, and I found a packet of mustard, an old spoon, and a thing of grape jelly. And I was like, here you guys go. Prizes for everyone. Your prize is graduating. Now, all of these plants have tissues. They're associations of cells of the same type. See, as we're working our way up the organizational level, you start off with atoms, and atoms come together to make molecules. Those molecules make macromolecules, which make up organelles. Organelles make up cells, and the next level up is the tissue. Lots of cells of the same type. So plants have tissues. The big reason plants have tissues is to help them retain water. See, that was the big issue with plants. They came out of the sea. And when they came out of the sea, they dried out and died. It was only those plants that were able to surround themselves with other cell types that could prevent water loss that survived. Typically, in a normal plant, you're going to have what's known as the cuticle. That's sort of that really waxy layer on the outside. It protects the plant. Then the upper epidermis, which secretes the cuticle. It's what produces those waxes. Followed by this, for lack of a better word, the squishy bits on the inside. These are nice and moist, very wet. If you were ever to take a leaf and sort of crumple it up, your hands get wet. It's because of this layer on the inside, followed by another layer of epidermal cells and more wax. Wax, as you recall from Bio 101, interacts with water in what way? How would you term it? It's hydrophobic. It fears water. It pushes water out. In this case, it doesn't just push water out, it holds water in. Plants grow out of an area known as the meristem, meristematic tissue. It's an area of rapid mitotic growth. So what's mitosis? You remember? Copying the nucleus, replicating the nucleus. So on plants, you have certain areas that grow faster than other areas, which is why they grow in directions. You might have at the top an apical meristem. Any of you guys ever grown a garden before? No, never. Okay, thanks. If you've ever grown tomatoes, what direction do they grow usually? Up, everywhere. They actually do grow everywhere. It's kind of interesting. You got a point on them that grows straight up. That's the apical meristem. The way I remember apical is it's shaped like an A, which looks like an arrow pointing up. The apical meristem is growing straight up. When a deer comes along and eats the top of your tomato plants, you'll notice they stop growing upward. They primarily just start growing outward because that meristem was lost. What you didn't lose, though, were what are known as the lateral meristems, the meristems off to the side. So if you're growing a tomato, you'll see a shoot growing straight out of the center, and then lots of shoots growing in between all of the other shoots. Those are all areas where the plant is undergoing rapid levels of mitosis. There are only very certain regions of the plant that grow quickly, that have this meristematic tissue. Obviously, the apical meristem at the top, but the roots are also growing very quickly. These areas that grow fast with a lot of meristem tissue are called the growing cones. And they have different sections to them. They have the zone of elongation, the zone of maturation, and the zone of mitosis. The way I think of these growing cones, if you've ever, 4th of July, do you know what snakes are for 4th of July? That's not a real snake, obviously. It's not like you set a snake on fire. Don't do that. You take a little like tablet, you put it on the table, and you light it on fire, and then ash grows out of it. The ash is only growing in one direction, up. That's like the meristematic tissue. You don't see these growing outwards. It's all in one plane, one direction.